In our life is going in our cupboard today, which figuratively means taking you to the kitchen. Before it gets there though, Santa ketchup in a mango tree. Hey, the hamp. Okay, don't mimic. I'm just kidding. Let me start over. Ackee and saltfish is Jamaica's national dish. The ackee grows on trees and the saltfish grows in the seas. The saltfish is also known as codfish. The ackee grows inside of peach-colored pods and are at first closed and then eventually open on their own. You are advised though to allow them to open independently to avoid being poisoned. The breadfruit also grows on a tree. Let me know if you'd like to see that in the future, but it is of a green color. Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, na na na. It's just a mood, but it's a fact that there aren't many or any at all of the types of trees that are traditionally used as Christmas trees here. So we'd use any tree we have and decorate them. So this is a breadfruit tree. It spreads wide and it stands very tall. The leaves are huge and are used for other things like even a dining mat or the actual plate. You know, like if you were maybe camping or in the deep country. It is a sight to see, I tell you, especially when the breadfruits are all out in their glory. And sometimes there's so much we can't eat them all. Some are eaten by animals or they just get so ripe and they fall off. The breadfruit itself, it has so many different uses for each stage of maturity. You'll never go hungry, I tell you. That what we're looking at now is the center or the heart of the breadfruit. It forms the heart at least. And every time we cook or prepare the breadfruit, we'd have to pare out that centerpiece because it can't be eaten. Now, I'm trying to find any site of breadfruit and I'm seeing two little ones way up there in the top, like they're just coming in. They're pretty young. The term roasted breadfruit in Jamaica normally means outdoor cooking atop coals, but the shortcut way is on top of a stove. The risk here is the room may carry the strong scent that is let off while the breadfruit is cooking. This has been an unwelcomed wake up alarm many mornings as a child. Note well the steam that's huffing and puffing from the spot where the stem was. The breadfruit is turned repeatedly until all sides are roasted. The ackee has to be picked before cooking. Not the picking from the tree this time, but the picked after the picked from the tree. In other words, prepping or cleaning up the ackee. The black seed is removed, as well as the little pink threads on the inside. Sometimes, though, we are pleasantly surprised with a pod of 4, 5, 6, 7, and guess what? Even 8. But the norm is 3 ackee to 1 pod. Now, the saltfish that is used looks like this. Well, a small piece of it. It's cured in salt, so there are many visible flakes of salt that can be rinsed off before boiling, or the fish could be soaked overnight. The saltfish was in a pot of boiling water, and then the ackee was added. Now, that flavor from the saltfish at this stage is a nice touch to the final dish. Seasonings, seasonings, seasonings. I love seasonings so much. The scent, the colors, the flavors, everything. These are some rough cuts of escallion, tomatoes, onion, scotch bonnet pepper, and green sweet pepper. The scotch bonnet pepper, though, is not cut up in small pieces because this dish is not just for me, and not everybody can deal with all of that excitement. So when it's cut big, it's easier for it to be found in the pot and removed, so that those who don't like all that excitement are not given a surprise. You know what I mean? Of course, if you don't like one or the other, you can remove it. But I like them all, so I use them all. The callaloo for this dish is traditionally bought tied with dried banana strips, right? It comes strips that come from a banana tree. It grows like a shrub from the ground. And all you have to do is cut off that tie, or you can untie it and remove it. The leaves are to be thoroughly washed, as well as the stalks, and then you start stripping. I strip starting at the end and peeling my way down the stalk. I have come across some callaloo that is very fresh and supple and nice, and the stripping was really not necessary. But most I've seen, I have had to strip. Sometimes, if they're not stripped, the callaloo is really hard and a bit rubbery and maybe even sometimes bitter. I then hold, in order to cut it up, as many stalks as I can manage in one hand, right? And I position it on my cutting board and I chop. Be warned though, I'm not a traditionalista, so I'm not gonna be chopping finely. What I will say is chop to your heart's desire. Medium, large, fine, small, it's all up to you. It will still taste the same. It would appear an instrument was used sometimes to measure the circumference, length, and breadth based on how callaloo is traditionally chopped in Jamaica. Anyway, I'm hungry, so let's cook on. About a tablespoon of oil is used to saute a bit of that fresh seasoning cut up earlier, and the callaloo is then added to it. Cover that pot, turn down your flame, and let it be. When it has reduced to about half the volume, you can add some coconut milk if you like, mix, and cover again. You can also add more veggies such as carrot. The ackee is cooked now. When I lift it with a fork, it breaks before I can take it from the pot. I strain the whole pot of ackee and saltfish. I separate the saltfish from the ackee and proceed to pick the saltfish. Now, you can probably say flaking, but at this point you can tell in Jamaica, one word has about 1,152 meanings. Now, in picking the saltfish, the outer grayish blackish skin easily comes off and the flesh underneath it's flaked. Be careful of the heat though, because remember this saltfish is just coming immediately from that boiling water. You will also come upon bones which are also removed. So next, in a frying pan, the fresh seasonings are then sauteed with the saltfish. Now, this is not a minced ackee recipe, so no mash up the ackee, please. Thou shalt not mash up the ackee. Stir very gently because, as I said, thou shalt not mash up the ackee. The breadfruit is then peeled, which is a skill, I tell you, because the trick is to not let any of the black get onto the white. And guess what? We are finished. La comida está completa. The only downside to this dish for me was that the breadfruit was a bit overdone, but nevertheless, it was awesome.